Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cheyenne Forum. Today is July 30th. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
So nice to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for come again at Tuesday and then talk with us some very important issue around the world. Thank you so much. Yeah. And today I think we probably will focus on two topics. One is again the hearing at the senator right now. The acting direct acting director of Secret Service right now. I think he is at the senator and talk about the Trump assassination attempt. And I don't know if you watched that or not. I just saw a little bit, watched a little bit. We can talk about that in the beginning. And the other topic is, I think, is a worldwide focus right now is at Venezuela, their election. So it's a big thing, and lots of people are worried about if the same thing will happen in November in the States.
Uh,
So yeah, the first thing is about the hearing. We definitely, this is a very, very serious issue. We know that last week we have some hearings. Ray, the FBI director, come out and then talk to some details. I don't know if you heard the hearing. What do you feel? Does he really tell the truth, or he's trying to hiding something? What do you
well, yeah, I watched most of the hearing with him and then later, the recorded testimony. And I think that for him, he was more candid than usual, gave more information than usual,
think?
but still not everything. And I think that, the mystery is who has what jurisdiction because you have so many different agencies, federal, state, and local involved. But the way it's supposed to work is that by law, the Secret Service has various protectees designated by law. You start with the president, the vice president, senators, congressmen, federal officers, and agents. And then, you work your way down from that. If one of the protectees, in addition to that, the Secret Service is also responsible to protect a visiting head of state. So if somebody like Netanyahu from Israel came last week, if he comes, the Secret Service is supposed to provide his protection. If a deputy minister from another country comes, then that falls on the State Department Office of Diplomatic Security. Diplomatic security is also responsible for protecting the various U.S. properties around the world, excluding military. So embassies, consulates, associations, other properties that are owned by the U.S. federal government, diplomatic security is the chief of police. And actually, they're a bigger agency or a bigger police force than even Secret Service or FBI. They have somewhere in the area worldwide of 40,000 officers. The FBI has 12 or 13,000. I think Secret Service, 4 or 5,000 maybe. So diplomatic security is actually huge compared to anybody else. But when it comes to protecting the president, the vice president, named people that are protectees of the Secret Service, that's their job to protect them, ensure their safety. And then if something happens and there is an attack on one of them, then the investigation of the attack is the responsibility of the FBI. And I think that when this is by law, I think that when the various people have testified, they've still left that confusing to the public. Well, who's supposed to do what and who's in charge and how does this work and all of that. Now, with regard to the hearings, they just started this morning, so we haven't heard all the details, and we'll see all of the review later tonight on all the shows. They'll recap the highlights. But I think that there are some important highlights that we need to find out. Now, the Secret Service, starting with the director that just resigned, Cheadle, last week, and now continuing today with the new acting director, they're more or less saying that the fact that Trump got shot Luckily, not fatal. Luckily, he was turned his head and it only just took a piece of his ear.
Mm-hmm.
But they still blame Secret Service. They still say, okay, we're responsible. It's our fault. This shouldn't have happened, and it did happen. But I think where some of the discrepancy comes in is when we hear about the resources that Secret Service assigned for some of the meetings. Now, Secret Service, when they go into a venue where the president or vice president or a protectee is going to attend, then they send out an advance team. They look at the site. What are the dangers? Where will they need to post employees? And the police that are going to help them, they also designate where they will be. And then the communications network, how the police and other agencies will communicate with the officer in charge from the Secret Service, how that will work. And what we've seen and heard in this story is an extreme breakdown at every level. Lack of communications, lack of understanding. How is this working? Who's in charge? The Secret Service is supposed to designate the on-scene commander. So the director of the Secret Service doesn't have to be at the venue, but that person goes there in advance, studies the advance survey of what's needed, what should take place, and ensures on the day of the venue that they're in charge and that everybody that's assigned, all the state, federal, local police agencies, everybody has a way of communicating directly to the command post to
Mm-hmm.
inform them of information. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, we're hearing in this instance of, people spotted the shooter going up the roof, on top of the roof, crawling around. The public was calling in. All of these reports that Secret Service says they didn't hear or
Mm-hmm.
they didn't get. So that's a mystery that I don't know if we'll get to the bottom of it today's hearing, whether that'll do any good or not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a big question. Just like last time when you mentioned that the commander is a key person at the whole thing. He's the one has the final order to do what and to not do what. So he or she must.
If there's a question. Now, in some instances, like the counter sniper teams that are on site, when
Mhm,
they see the potential shooter on the roof of the other building,
mhm.
they don't have to, they ask the commander, what should we do? They
Right,
basically said, wait, we don't know who that is.
right.
And the worry is that when you have so many different departments, so many different sheriffs, and a
Mhm,
lot of these small sheriffs where they only have, 10 deputies, a lot of times they want their deputy to be part of this so they can brag about that when they
mhm,
have to run for reelection.
mhm,
So in some cases, it's possible that a junior officer from another county, let's say, would show up and wander around on the site and everything. And then when the police are informed by the crowd, hey, there's somebody on the roof crawling around. Hey, he's got a gun. Now they're wondering, well, that could be a police officer. So the snipers on the other roofs are wondering, is this some police officer that came and stuck himself in
mhm.
so that that sheriff could get some glory later that his deputy was there?
Right, right.
They don't know. And if you're the sniper on the other roof and you're looking through your scope at the potential shooter,
Mhm,
even if you ask for the commander, the on-scene commander, can I
mhm,
shoot? Should I shoot? What
mhm,
should I do?
mhm,
The other commander is going to be trying to check, does anybody know if this is a cop?
mhm,
Because you don't want to tell your sniper, oh yeah, go ahead and shoot him, and find out that it was a cop and the
mhm,
cop's got 5 young children and you just killed them. And so that's the concern, is that you might be shooting a good guy, an
mhm,
innocent guy.
mhm,
And part of that too, we hear about the control of the site by the Secret Service and how lax it was. For
mhm,
example, you
mhm,
hear that the Secret Service did not attend the morning briefing that day. They
mhm,
had a morning briefing. Supposedly, Secret Service wasn't there. At
mhm,
that final briefing, all the different police that are going to be involved, you check communications, how they can communicate with the command post. Now, in some cases, if their radios are not compatible, the frequencies don't match up with Secret Service,
Mhm.
then Secret Service can assign somebody to go with that person so
Mhm.
that they can communicate on
Right.
behalf of the deputy.
Uh-huh.
But they didn't have enough Secret Service to do that. So that was lax there. Now we're
Mhm.
hearing discrepancies. I saw an interview yesterday
Mhm.
of Eric Prince, who used to, where he is in charge of Blackwater, which was hired by our State Department to provide security in Iraq, basically. And he was saying that he's heard from contacts he has within the Secret Service that that group near Trump that jumped on Trump, you see 6 or 8, presumably Secret Service. Everybody from day one has been saying Secret Service. He was saying, no, no, no. The main Secret Service team assigned to Trump got reassigned by Director Cheadle to protect Jill Biden at a different location in Pennsylvania. And that the people that were with Trump on that stage that jumped on him, out of that group, only one was Secret Service. The others were Homeland Security Investigations agents, HSI. So they're not
Oh.
normally assigned protection. They're not assigned to do the protocols when shots are fired to get the president down and get on top of them. Now, if they do bravely, you see them do all of that, but very haphazard. And then, they let Trump up. We don't know. They don't know for sure that the scene has been secured. So they
Mhm.
say that, okay, the one shooter that they know of, they've neutralized,
Mhm.
shot him in the head, he's dead.
Right.
But they don't know if that's the only one for sure.
Oh.
They don't know if somebody else is in the perimeter or on the water tower or somewhere else. And so they let Trump get back up, not
Right.
knowing. And then you see Trump surrounded by agents, especially the 2 female agents, that only come up to about his chest,
Right.
And so
Right.
his whole head is still exposed.
Right.
So the whole time when they get him up, when he's down on the floor of the stage, that there's a metal barrier. That
Mhm.
that sign that you see with stars and stripes painted on it is actually steel, and it's supposed to be bulletproof. So when he goes down, he's supposed to be safe. But
Mhm.
very quickly they let him back up,
Right. Right.
or
Right.
he decides he's going to get up and he gets up,
Mhm.
and they don't keep him down. And so then he comes up and you see his fist in the air and the blood on his face, but
Mhm.
his head is completely exposed.
Mhm.
If there's another shooter, if this is part of a larger conspiracy to kill him,
Mhm.
which I would not be surprised if it was,
Right.
he's completely exposed. So he
Mhm.
could have been killed at that point. And then they walk him to the car, to the limo, to take
Mhm.
him to the hospital. Most of that time, most of his upper chest and head are exposed.
Mhm.
So even then, they don't know how to really get him there. At one point, apparently, they tell him they want to put him on a stretcher. He says no. They say, oh, okay, we'll walk you to the car. But
Mhm.
the whole time they're walking him to the car, they could have had shields that they brought with them to protect them. They could have had other mechanisms and should have, but didn't. So they're walking him to the car, and a good part of his head and upper body is exposed
Mhm.
still for an
Mhm.
additional shot.
Mhm.
So they haven't explained why that happened, and they still haven't explained. Maybe today, the deputy director, acting director now,
Mhm.
can testify that were those people, of those, how many were actually Secret Service and how
Mhm.
many were the investigative wing of Homeland Security, which is called HSI.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
funny thing about HSI, when Homeland Security was created a year or two after 9/11,
Mhm.
and they started their investigative group called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. They also got the blue jackets like the FBI, and the FBI has FBI on the back of their jackets for many years now. DEA, most people know DEA, so they put that on there. The other agencies like ATF and some of the other ones, they didn't want to be confusing to the public, so they put police
Mhm.
across the back.
Everybody
When
knows.
HSI started, they had HSI on the jackets. Well,
Mhm.
nobody had any idea who's HSI, brand
Mhm.
new agency. Even the police didn't know. So they decided to go ahead and get jackets like ATF and the others that just said police. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you don't see jackets like that at this venue. So you really don't know at the time of the shooting who is HSI. Who you presume, and all the indications were, well, they're all Secret Service and they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
But then we hear, I hear on this podcast yesterday from somebody that works very closely with Secret Service for years who says, no, the main Secret Service detail normally assigned to Trump was reassigned to Jill Biden, and that these guys were HSI and they're not trained in detail to the protocols of Secret Service or what to do and how to do it and when to do it and all of that. And of
Right.
course, you have the other failure, which they're admitting to, that as soon as they were notified that there's a suspicious person who later turns out to be the shooter,
Mm-hmm.
wandering around on the grounds,
Mm-hmm.
later crawling on the roof, um, they don't identify him. They don't send somebody immediately get on that roof and find out is this a cop or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's allowed to go on where they don't know who that is. They don't
Well,
identify the potential shooter until he shoots. And
sure.
then, we had the impression in the beginning that the shooter gets off one shot at Trump, and then
Mhm.
they immediately neutralize him. One shot to his head, he's done.
Right. Right.
And when we see these guys with the body camera videos yesterday and the day before that Senator Grassley and Senators Johnson release, you see somebody in a suit on the roof, and they're blurring out the image because Crooks, the shooter, is still laying on the roof with his
Mm-hmm.
blood draining,
Mm-hmm.
down the hill on the roof. And then they discuss, yeah, there's his gun is over here, a few feet from him. The
Mm-hmm.
rifle is on the roof. And they find, I think, 8 bullets, and they're counting the bullet shell casings, and there's
Mm-hmm.
8 of them. So now it's not just one shot at Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Shooter shoots a bunch of shots.
Mm-hmm.
And, so now we hear that's why other people are wounded. One other person is killed.
Mm-hmm.
All of that's going on. And the Secret Service makes it sound initially in the early days like it was just one shot. He only got off one shot. You
Right.
find out now he got off about 8 shots.
Right. So that's
So,
the thing.
yeah.
It sounds like the Secret Service are highly on that day, highly unprofessional. So
Yeah,
that's
the
the
question is whether they're
uh-huh.
capable of being the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But are they so politicized now by the Biden administration and by the previous director, Cheadle, that they're so politicized that protecting Jill Biden, who has no known threat against her,
Mm-hmm.
is more important, a higher priority than Donald Trump, who has had nonstop threats in the
Mm-hmm.
media
Right.
from Democrats, from progressives, from people on the left saying, we cannot let this man be president. He's going to be Hitler. And,
Mm-hmm.
much of the narrative about Hitler was if somebody had killed Hitler in 1933, 34, 35, 36, he invades Poland in 39. If somebody had killed Hitler during the early days after he became chancellor, that it could have saved as many as 60 million lives in Europe. The Russians lost something like 40 million on their own. Then the rest of the populations of Europe, another 20 million. And then we know of 6 million Holocaust victims, Jews that were exterminated. And then the rest of the armies in Western Europe that lost soldiers during the war. But 60 million lives could have been saved if the dictator Hitler had been eliminated early. Now, current rhetoric, when they compare Trump and say he's Hitler, you're basically sending a message to people that, well, the best thing to do with a new Hitler is do what should have been done with the old Hitler, kill him.
Right.
And that's where the rhetoric comes in now. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
just about keep him off the ballot
Mm-hmm.
or put him in court or all these frivolous charges they came up with. No, the best way to ensure the survival of our democracy, kill Trump,
Yeah.
eliminate him, period.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody is really, really paying attention to it. You have Biden a couple of weeks before this shooting, we should have Trump in a bullseye. Well, what does that mean? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it basically implies the rhetoric of shooting somebody with a scoped rifle.
Actually, they encourage people to do so.
Well,
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
because you're encouraging people that save our republic,
Right.
save the United States, save our democracy. This
Mm-hmm.
is the one man
Mm-hmm.
living in the world that
Mm-hmm.
can take away your democracy, take away your freedom, liberty,
Right.
all of that.
Right.
Now here the irony is here's Trump, president for 4 years. He doesn't go after revenge. He doesn't go after Hillary Clinton. She's never prosecuted. She should have been. He doesn't bunker down in the White House. I'm not leaving, even though he didn't think the elections were fairly conducted everywhere. So, but anyway, they don't have to call in the military to remove him. He leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that they said he would do, he didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, accusing him of separate, even Kamala Harris. He
Mm-hmm.
separated the children from the families when the immigrants came in and all of that. That was an Obama policy because by law they can't be locked up with their parents. They have to be in separate facilities. So all of these things that they've accused Trump of doing
Right.
are all policies that they did themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or Trump never did. It was an exaggeration.
This is very, very communist style. They just describe a person as a bad person, bad guy, like it described Trump as a Hitler, and give the people who kill Hitler the good reason. So this is actually very, 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 very bad and
Yeah,
smart to do so.
yeah,
So
kill him now and prevent the destruction of
right,
60 million people like
right.
Hitler did in Europe in 1930s and 1940s.
Right. And for as of the new acting director of Secret Service, I heard him about 7 minutes, the opening statement today, this morning. And there are two or three details I'd really like to discuss with you. First, he said he actually went to the scene and he went up to the roof where the shooter take the shoot. And he said, I have no explanation of why we did not protect this area. I don't know why. Because he works as a sniper, he works as an agent for years. And he said, there's no reason for this part not protect. So that's one thing. The second, he said, he liked to make it clear that the snipers and the secret agent do not know there is a shooter over there. They thought if something happened that the local police are deal with, but they don't know there's active shooter on the scene. So that's from him. He said, we don't know about that. True or not, I'm not quite sure. Okay, that's second. The third, he said, the sniper has the full authority to shoot the shooter. Um, the sniper do not need to call anyone to have the order to shoot the shooter. So he,
That's true, but the sniper has to really believe and have reason to believe
right,
that the guy's a bad guy. He's
right,
not a police officer. He's
right,
not a deputy sheriff.
right,
Um,
right,
he's not a journalist, trying to get video of the event or any of that.
right.
So then that falls on, really two people. If you're the on-scene commander, you can
Mhm.
get the order, shoot,
That, mhm.
or that sniper that has his rifle in hand, looking through the scope
Right.
at Crook's head
Yeah,
close up.
right.
That sniper can go ahead and shoot him. But again, based on what? What's the reasoning going to be? And
Right.
what's in the back of your mind as a law enforcement officer, having carried a gun
Right.
officially for 30 years that way, what's in your mind is if you pulled the trigger, have
Mm-hmm.
you killed an innocent person?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Have you shot a police officer? Have you shot, a reporter, somebody that shouldn't
Right.
have been there, but was there, and your policy failed to set up a system so that you would know who was
Right.
on every rooftop and all of that.
Exactly. I agree with you. And I think he's trying to cover up for someone because I remember the second day of the situation happened, the sniper tell people or tell the reporter, he said, I called and asked, what should I do? Because he saw him 3, 4 minutes before.
Yeah, and the reason is that the command post would know if other
Right.
police officers were arriving that the
Right.
sniper on that rooftop would not know.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd radio in. Now, what happens is that officers or commanders from the department that any other police officer would be from, they do like a roll call of where are all our people? Who
Mm-hmm.
else do we have here? Now,
Right.
what they don't know is that you might have some ambitious deputy, sheriff, let's say, and the
Mm-hmm.
sheriffs have to run for office.
Mm-hmm.
Some ambitious sheriff that thinks, if one of my deputies is out there, I can claim that when I run for reelection, that we were right in the middle of the rally and protecting Trump and all. We had an important role in the rally, which could be true, might not be true. But in that situation, you're thinking as, let's say you're the Secret Service on scene commander in your command post, you're supposed to have the key officers from the other agencies,
Right.
Pennsylvania State Police, all of the county sheriffs, all of the city police, township police, all of these different people. You're supposed to be able to know who's out there and
Mm-hmm.
how to communicate with them. And in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cases that I've been involved in, you have a small department or something that's going to be part of the big operation.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have radios on your frequencies, which they probably don't, then
Mm-hmm.
you assign somebody to go with them that does. So you
Mm-hmm.
pair them up so
Right.
that everybody that's out there, every team that's out at the site
Mm-hmm.
has a way to talk directly into command posts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, depending on how many hundred people you have as police officers and federal agents out there, then you would have their command, somebody high ranking from their departments with you as
Mm-hmm.
assistant on scene commanders. So you might have the commander in the command post, and
Mm-hmm.
you might have 3, 4, 5 assistant commanders from the different departments and agencies that are there to help you. And the idea is that anybody that comes up that's not been identified, you don't know who that is, you immediately assign people, go find out who that is. Go
Mm-hmm.
check them out. Go up on that roof. Do
Right.
do something to verify who that person is. So
Right.
the sniper, Secret Service sniper, who's radioing in, he wants the command post to say, good guy, bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Am I looking at a police officer that stuck himself in here? He has no business being here, but he is.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it possibly a bad guy going up there to kill the president?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you would radio in. The hope is on that sniper's part that the command post gets back to him and says, we have no idea. We're going to send somebody up there and find out who it is. Or we've just figured out bad guy. Take,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or we still don't know. And so
Right.
what you have is that the bad guy fires 8 shots before the Secret Service sniper kills him. 8 shots. So the fact that Trump was wounded and 2 other people were one wounded and one killed, it's actually pretty lucky. If you fired 8 of those shots into a crowded uh,
Right.
bandstand, you could have had many more people dead, including the president. If he
Mm.
doesn't turn his head, you
Right.
see his head blow up, much like JFK in the Zapruder film. You
Right.
see that again.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So the guy, the commander, is his name should be kept secret or people should know his name or her
Well, the
name?
investigators would know. At this point, the FBI and obviously Secret Service, but the FBI investigation should tell you who that person is and his personnel record. What's
Mm-hmm.
his background? Has he
Mm-hmm.
been, accused of crimes? Has he been, what, some type of malfeasance? So normally the on-scene commander is someone has tactical experience
Mm-hmm.
tactical training to deal with these kind of events,
Mm-hmm.
and is experienced. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just somebody that, hey, you're in charge today. No, somebody that has some professional competence
Mm-hmm.
that's known, that's demonstrated, just in case something like this happens, and that person's going to be held to account.
Right, 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 right.
Nobody in the long run is going to hold Cheadle, the Secret Service previous director, or the
Mm-hmm.
current acting director. He's not been confirmed yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so nobody's going to really hold them accountable. They haven't been vetted, they haven't been screened, and
Mm-hmm.
confirmation hearings and all the usual stuff. So, in that sense, they're only so liable.
Mm-hmm.
But that on scene commander has to have a perfect record
Right,
and experience.
right. So we still don't know who this guy is.
We don't, but they do. And
So,
they would know whether that's a vulnerable aspect.
mm,
Uh, was this person put in charge that day, last person standing? All the
mm,
other main A team that are normally with Trump went to protect Joe Biden, who
mhm,
there's no known threats against, and they leave unprotected, Trump with all of the threats, all of these left wing progressives that are saying we have to do whatever it takes to prevent him from getting back in the White House.
that's why people are keep saying that this is an inside job because Democrats would love to see what happened to Trump. So they feel sorry that they did not get things down. Everybody knows that. So,
And
yeah, I just feel very interesting that no reporters asking for the name of the guy, of the commander, which I think this guy is so important in the whole thing. So important. Still, we don't know who or she is.
right.
We'll see. And I remember last time you said this kind of investigation can be done within weeks if they want.
Yeah, the FBI, they have the resources that they could bring 500 agents to Pennsylvania to work
Mhm,
this case,
mhm,
to interview everybody and their uncle who might be involved or know something that might be involved and all of that.
mhm.
But how many resources they assign, we don't know. Is it enough? One of the things the FBI typically does is they might be asked about this case a year from now. Oh, we can't talk. It's still a pending investigation. Oh,
Right.
yeah. Why is it still pending? Why haven't you come to enough conclusions to be able to say,
Mhm.
here's what we have found?
Right. So we'll see how long it will take them. But so, because we have so many questions remain on the case, so I can see more and more people are think it's an inside job. More and more people are come to their own conclusion that this 20-year-old cannot do it just by himself. It must be something or someone else help him to finish the
Right.
whole thing. Yeah. So that's the thing. We'll yeah, keep watching where the things will go. And then let's talk about Venezuela. So did you see what happened there and a surprise to you?
I don't really know the details in Venezuela. So that's the only problem with that. The other issue would be, to what extent did the United States interfere in
Mm-hmm,
their process, like
mm-hmm.
we've done all over the world?
Right.
We send a CIA everywhere in the world to disrupt elections for people we don't like, for
Mm-hmm,
communists, for Marxists, for all of that.
mm-hmm.
So, to what extent we interfered, I don't know.
Hmm. You're talking about interfere. You mean that
Yeah,
American
try to
government?
try to throw an election in another country so
Mm-hmm,
the right people get elected.
mm-hmm,
Basically, almost a coup, like we did in Ukraine,
mm-hmm,
2014. We
mm-hmm,
we caused the elected president of the Ukraine
mm-hmm,
to be deposed and leave the country because he was very pro-Russian, and we didn't like that.
mm-hmm,
And so the CIA and the U.S. government interfered to help get the people in that we wanted, which ultimately ended up in Zelensky that we have now.
mm-hmm,
But there was a prior person before Zelensky.
mm-hmm.
But that's typical of the U.S. to interfere. we
Mhm.
don't like your government. We're going to change it.
To do something. Yeah, right. So as you on your understanding, Venezuela right now is a communist party or is a socialism party or is a capitalism
I
country?
don't know. It's basically Marxist.
Marxist. Okay.
Yeah.
So do
And
you think?
the people that have fled Venezuela will tell you
Mm-hmm,
how much that's changed over the last 10 years or so.
mm-hmm,
You know, one of the examples of that would be if you're familiar with Dinesh D'Souza,
mm-hmm,
his wife is basically a refugee from Venezuela.
mm-hmm.
And so she talks about, you know, the regime that took over and how Venezuela, one of the richest countries in
Right.
the Caribbean and South America, is basically a welfare state now.
Mm-hmm,
And the oil, interestingly, the oil from Venezuela is among the dirtiest in the world. And so China is trying to get hold of Venezuelan oil, and it needs extensive refinery processing to get clean enough to use.
mm-hmm,
Now, probably among the cleanest oils in the world is off the coast of Nigeria, Gulf of Guinea. That oil, and to go from Nigeria short distance across the Atlantic to our refineries on the Gulf Coast of the U.S., and that's pretty much the cleanest. Most of that is Dutch oil.
mm-hmm,
Dutch Shell
mm-hmm,
owns that oil. Now, U.S. oil is very clean also.
mm-hmm,
So essentially, you have Biden choke off U.S. oil and
mm-hmm,
gas and minerals
mm-hmm,
in favor of going to countries that have dirtier oil. So
mm-hmm,
all this talk about the green new planet and all of that's nonsense.
mm-hmm,
That he goes to Venezuela, begs them for oil. He goes to Saudi Arabia, begs them. He goes to all these places, and they tell him no. And they have to know from the beginning, 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, that Biden must be crazy. He's got almost the cleanest oil on earth under the ground of the United States, and he's coming here begging us.
mm-hmm,
So, so that's inexplicable how Biden and Kamala Harris could be doing that, have that kind of policy the last 3.5 years. And
right.
that's why Trump in his rallies keeps saying, drill, baby, drill. We're gonna get our own oil,
Mm-hmm,
you know, that's under our feet
mm-hmm,
out. We're gonna drill for our own oil.
mm-hmm. That's true. So if the Venezuela is a Marxism country, it's I think Democrats will love it because Democrats right now are becoming more and more Marxism. So they are brothers. So
Absolutely.
they should have they should be very happy that Maduro re-elect again. So why they like to interfere that if Maduro can win the election?
Yeah, I don't know that we interfered this time. We have in the past, but I
Mhm,
don't know specifically in Venezuela to
mhm,
what extent the U.S. was involved,
mhm,
CIA was involved in doing that. You know,
mhm,
we interfered in the early 2000s, one of the elections when Putin was running for reelection.
mhm,
Hillary Clinton, I think, was Secretary of State, and we tried to interfere with his election, and he knew it.
mhm,
So
mhm,
here's the United States trying to interfere with the election of the president of the Russian Federation,
mhm,
Putin. And so we do this all over the world. We've done it many, many times over
mhm.
the years, over the existence of the CIA, going back to 1947.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw Blinken just come out and have a little statement about Venezuela election, and he said the election is kind of unfair to people. It's like a rigged election. It's just so funny that they said the election has been rigged, which they have done in 2020 election. So
Yeah,
it's
first of all,
Mhm,
when it comes to Blinken or Jake Sullivan, you
mhm,
just about cannot believe a word out of their mouth.
right.
They are serial liars,
Hmm.
and practically everything they say is a lie.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And also talk about the American White House right now, Kamala Harris. Right now, you can see that the mainstream media is just give some great word to describe her as a human hero, as the smartest politician. And then just you see the polls like Trump 38, Kamala Harris 47,
Yeah.
something like that. It's just pure lies. So they don't care.
Yeah,
They don't care what.
the hard part is for the Democrats and for
Right.
Kamala Harris to be able to maintain that level of sainthood for her from now till November 5th. So now they've got the Democratic convention coming up in Chicago.
Mhm,
We'll see how they handle that. But
right.
basically, with Kamala Harris, what they're going to have to do with her is what they did with Biden in 2020: lock her up,
Mhm,
put her in a basement, tell her to shut up, don't
mhm,
come out, very short scripted speeches, then go back in your hole. Because the more you listen to her philosophies, the more you realize how much of a Marxist she is.
mhm,
And so, I think that Trump's strategy, it appears, in the Biden debate was let him hang himself, give him
right.
enough rope, he'll hang himself. Because
Mhm,
friends of mine, on the other podcast I do, Operation Truth, my co-host Lou Palumbo says he was very angry with Trump because he didn't fight back hard enough against
uh-huh,
Biden. And I
mhm,
said that was Trump's strategy.
mhm,
All the accusations, he's a bully, he's so mean, he's so terrible. I think Trump laid back, restrained himself to a great extent, and let Biden try to make short speeches, which he couldn't do. Biden basically hung himself.
right. It's
And
a better
so
approach.
the only time Trump really pushed back and came a great line is when, Biden talked about Social Security and, we beat Social Security down or something. And Trump says, you beat it to death. Perfect line.
Mhm,
Enough of a hard line. Don't
right.
go into all of this. You're demented, you're weak, you're incapable, and all of that. Just let Biden keep talking.
Mhm,
Now, from a Machiavellian standpoint, if you're familiar with Machiavelli, some people have theorized that Obama's strategy and the elite Democrat strategy was hold that debate early. Don't wait till after the conventions. Hold it early
mhm,
and let Biden hang himself.
right.
And then they could remove him. Then Biden would be responsible for his own demise.
Mhm,
They
mhm,
wouldn't have done it. All they did was give him the forum to do it,
mhm,
and he did it.
mhm,
And
mhm,
from Trump's standpoint, be very moderate. And I think Trump's going to be a little bit different or a lot different with Kamala Harris
mhm,
because she has a long record going back of being a Marxist.
mhm,
Uh, you know, the negative things she did to move herself up politically,
mhm,
sleeping her way to the top
mhm,
with the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, and all of those type of things, which are true.
mhm,
But in recent times, almost everything she says is extremely Marxist,
mhm,
extremely progressive.
mhm,
And I think it's going to be a similar. I think Trump may hit back a little harder with her since
mhm.
the media is trying to make her, the modern George Washington.
Right, right, right.
What's interesting is the last person that they called the modern George Washington was Zelensky, president of the Ukraine. He's George Washington.
Now,
Well,
the
neither
female.
one neither one of them is George Washington. And the more they talk, the more she talks and the more she laughs, the more that comes out. That's the reality of her.
So yeah, this is actually one of my questions for you today is if you can design a strategy for Trump to debate with Kamala Harris, what suggestion you're going to give to Trump?
I think basically to be a little more aggressive than he was with Biden, but don't
Hmm.
go too far. Don't be bullying a black woman and a minority woman and all of that. And here's an interesting thing:
Hmm.
is up until 4 years ago, Kamala Harris was not black. She was Indian and Jamaican,
Hmm.
and her parents owned slaves.
Right.
Now, 2020, she changes all of her references in her bio to say she's a black African American woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that type of thing. Try and exploit her history and just try to, give her enough rope. And I think that it's going to remain to be seen. Trump's already saying he hopes CNN moderates the debate
Hmm.
because he said they did such a great job with the Biden debate, which they did, surprisingly.
Right,
Jake Tapper, Dana Bash were pretty fair,
right, right.
and Trump liked it. So again,
Let's go back, right?
let's go back and do it. Have the same people do it again and make it look like if CNN
Hmm.
doesn't go after her, then who would? That it's not Trump's fault if she does bad in the debate.
Right. So, yes, there are many questions regarding the how Obama will pick up the candidates for Democrats. Is Kamala is the final choice, or he and some other like high-ranking people at Democrats will choose some other person? So we don't know if Kamala can be the final one.
Right. Nobody knows,
Nobody knows. Yeah.
including her.
Right.
So
Right.
the theory is that at some point between now and the end of the convention, Obama and the elites will dump her because, and especially what they'll be doing in the weeks ahead
Hmm.
is looking at the polls, honest polls.
Right.
The Democrat controlled polls and the media controlled fake polls. Oh, she's winning by 2 points here, or she's tied there, and all of that. Most political pundits that really know politics are saying the
No.
polls are not right. That's phony.
Hmm.
Now, if
So,
you remember, these bunch of these polls are the same polls in 2016 that
mhm.
said Hillary was 6 or 8 points ahead of Trump at that time,
I
if you remember.
remember that. I remember that. It's
So anyway, that's what's going to happen now is to what extent
mhm,
the really knowledgeable poll takers are going to say,
mhm.
no,
Right.
she's not.
Right.
And the real poll makers are the ones that Obama and the elite in the Democratic Party will be looking at to
Hmm.
decide what are they going to do
Right.
in November, I mean, in August at the convention
Hmm.
and with regard to the November election.
Right.
We,
So on all these things happen, I'm very curious that the voter for the Democrats, are they realize that the Democrats right now is controlled by Obama, by Clinton, by
yeah,
Nancy?
I have to
Are they
that point, I
realize?
have a difficult time understanding how 30 or 40% of the people that are asked about Biden or about her
Right.
uh, are staunch Democrats. 30 or 40%. To me, that's unbelievable. I could understand 2%,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5%.
10.
30% of the American public are that stupid. They're just stupid. That's stupid.
Right.
To,
Right.
to, to say that she's qualified, first of all, to say Biden was qualified, well, at least he had 50 years in government and all of that. So, been a senator all those years and a vice president. So, you had some reason to think that
Mm-hmm.
if he was awake
Mm-hmm.
and halfway able to think,
Mm-hmm.
then he'd be okay. He'd be qualified. But
Mm-hmm.
to look at her and say that she's qualified, no, it's incredible. And
Yeah.
every record that she has in public office is weak.
Right. Right.
So, how are they going to keep that lie up for the next 4 or 5 weeks till the convention? And then afterward, we'll see. We'll see if they can do it.
So I personally, I actually very worried about November because
Yeah.
you can see that Democrats they will not leave White House. They know that if they leave
Right.
White,
Everything they're accusing Trump of
right,
doing or is going to do are
it,
things that they're doing or are going to do.
exactly.
That's
So
called projection. Project on Trump all the bad things that you're going to do.
right, exactly, exactly. And then what's gonna happen? I don't know. I don't know because I think 30% people are vote for even 30% vote for Kamala Harris, let's assume. We have 60% to 70% vote for Trump. But Democrats will not handle the White House out. No, they will not. So I don't know what's going to happen. Do you think we have some better way to prevent some bad things happen on
Well,
the
I think that the ways that have been proposed are much better, but the Democrats block every effort. So, for example, paper ballots, no more
Mhm.
machines,
They will
voter
not.
ID,
Hmm.
two minimum things to
Hmm.
do at the polling place. Now, you could still have early voting, go
Hmm.
in and show your identification.
Hmm.
In Virginia, where I live, they came up with a new system where they put a star on your driver's license and you're upgrading your driver's license to be the equivalent of a passport.
Right, right,
You
right,
need to use your passport, birth certificate, all of that to
right,
get the upgrade in your driver's license
right,
so that
right,
if you show your driver's license or passport, they're equivalent to being official US government documents.
right.
So we have that and
Hmm.
use it. Paper ballots, same thing.
Yeah, I think we have that in California as well. We call that real driver's license.
Yeah.
But it's so easy for anyone to get driver's license here in California. Even illegal immigrants can get their driver's license here.
But
So,
not the real one. You need a birth certificate or you need proof that you're a citizen to get the real driver's license.
oh,
The
okay.
other one, you don't need proof. That came about after 9/11 because several of the 9/11 hijackers
Mhm.
had Virginia driver's licenses.
Oh,
But that
really?
was, you would just go into DMV, you could get your driver's license. Then they came up with this idea for the real driver's license.
Hmm. But
So
to prove that the citizen.
so if you're going to fly, for example, TSA can accept your passport
Hmm.
as obviously the best identification,
Right,
but with the real driver's license, they can accept that because that's the equivalent of a passport, birth certificate, all of that documentation. If you don't have the real driver's license, then
hmm,
go back to the passport or some other identification.
right, right. Well, so just like what we saying that November is coming, this is the one of the most, not the one, it's
The most, the
the
most.
most important. And then yeah, don't know what's going on. We'll go there and vote and we'll do something for help the voting, the poll, the voting station, everything. But still, just like you mentioned before, that Democrats right now is not a normal party. It has become a communist party,
Yeah, it
meaning
has.
they
It
will do
has.
anything, anything to stay in power. So, which is really dangerous to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we hope that everything will go smooth on November, but still, we have to go out and vote. At least we got 60%, 70%, even 80% people vote for Trump. This is our maybe last hope.
Yeah, and you don't have to wait till election day. Go ahead. If your state
Right,
opens up 30 days early, go vote.
right,
Get it done.
right, right.
Because you don't know on election day, there could be a blizzard, there could be a hurricane, there could be something bad happen.
Right.
Get your vote in and be done.
Right, right. And also, the last thing, maybe 3 minutes about the Olympic opening ceremony. Did you watch that?
I saw replays of it later. Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that it's typical Europe. It's typical of the woke
Mm-hmm.
idea that's pretty satanic. It's not, this is beyond Marxism.
No.
Destroy Christianity, destroy the Catholic Church, mock the famous Michelangelo painting of the Last Supper,
Mm-hmm.
and turn it into what
Right.
it is, basically like a blasphemy or whatever. And
Mhm.
and I think the population of the world is pretty much rejecting what they've done.
Right. Right.
And so I don't know. I haven't seen reports of the ratings of the Olympics and which athletes are doing good or bad or any of that, but we'll see.
Yeah. So you can see a very clear a force to do some anti-Christian,
Yeah.
yeah, the activities. So the world is a place that changed a lot within this 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so for next week, I think maybe we will know more details about the assassination investigation. Do you think so, or do you believe
Yeah,
so?
I think more and more will come out. I think much of it through leaks rather than through the official testimony of
I agree.
acting directors and
I agree.
supervisors and all of that. So I have very little faith in these hearings,
Mm-hmm.
all of these hearings.
Mm-hmm.
But in the long run, the truth is starting to come out. And, among the things I'd like to learn is the agents that tackled Trump on the stage, how
Mm-hmm.
many were true Secret Service agents? Who was the on-scene commander? Is that an experienced
Mm-hmm.
Secret Service agent that's run these events in the past and done the site surveys and the planning and the strategy and what they needed to do?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'd like to hear more of those details, and they're gradually coming out because some of the uh, some of the Secret Service, the real Secret Service, or some of the snipers that were involved, they want the truth to come out. They're not happy about being portrayed in
Right.
such a negative manner during
Right.
these hearings and by the public.
Right. 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 Yeah, I actually saw someone just come out and said that he will tell the truth until four or five high-ranking officers at Secret Service step down. Until then, he will keep telling the truth.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
have the same problem with the FBI. The very highest echelon has
Mhm.
become so political.
Right.
And, now you have Strzok
Mhm.
in his suit winning $1 million
Mhm.
and Lisa Page winning $800,000, because their text messages were published. And now they're suing to try to get rehired.
Mhm.
This is unbelievable to me.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Well, thank you so much, Tom, to analyze the current situation, and we will keep our focus on the hearing. And even though we do not have a big faith for them, but still they will have some truths to come out.
Yeah, that's true. And every now and then a little
Yeah,
snippet comes out that they can't deny or
yeah,
somebody else has told the committee members. So I think that the regular Secret Service agents do not, just like me, former regular FBI agent, we do not like our agencies being, this kind of criticism and accusations,
right,
especially when it's true. That's
right.
the hardest thing to take. You could say fake news or all that, but they know it's not.
Hmm.
Secret Service has become a political arm of the Biden administration,
Hmm.
much like, and Mayorkas, the Homeland Security Director, much like the FBI, going after people that are protesting in front of an abortion clinic or some of these other issues that the FBI has become political with. I hate that also.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Just little by little, some puzzle will put together.
Right,
Yeah, because this is the most important case during our lifetime. So we'll keep looking for it.
right.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much, and
Thank
hopefully
you.
a quick recover from your
Yeah.
hand. Yeah. All right. So I'll see you next week.
Okay. See you then.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much. Thank you.